To Alex and Adam, who, as of writing this, are the only members of the podcast anyways, lol. Your specific brands in YouTube have somewhat negative connotations to them, i.e., I hate everything and your movie sucks. Now, most of your fan base knows that this does not really reflect the content that you create. Alex doesn't really hate everything, and Adam doesn't make videos exclusively telling filmmakers why their movies are bad. However, do you think this choice has impacted the general perception of your channels in any way? Do you think it's any way related to how YouTube and social media algorithms tend to favor negative language as it drives engagement? Edit. To add to this, I recently remembered an incident in 2017 just after The Last Jedi came out. Rich Evans and Jack Packard of Red Letter Media were streaming on Twitch on the now defunct Prereq channel. Jack had just expressed an opinion that, for me, aligned with what Alex said on his video of the movie, and I recommended it in the chat. Jack refused to look it up because he saw the channel name and thought it was another CinemaSins, lol. Yeah, I kind of made my peace with this. It is like the branding, but I feel like that's also kind of like part of the fun, is like having this way of getting people's attention, but then when you actually go into the content, it's like pretty measured and fairly relaxed. Like I'm not like bouncing off the walls. Like I feel like I'm pretty chill. I lay out how I'm feeling. As good faith as possible. And like, yeah, I've heard that feedback before. They're like, I won't watch that channel with that name. It's like, okay, other people will.
Sure. 100% it can influence people. I don't know, like that's kind of a funny thing to hear, that was Jack's response, because I've always kind of thought that like one of the oldest, most common idioms or whatever we want to call it is like, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
Like that, you can just click through the video and listen to like couple seconds, and if it's not worth your time, then you don't have to watch the whole thing, or maybe but to swear something off because of the title is kind of interesting. The title of a channel can influence people in that way, in the sense that I don't think anybody should be like surprised if they name their channel something and people interpret from how they name the channel.
Mm-hmm.
For myself in particular, Your Movie Sucks is not like it's I think I avoid a little bit of that by having it singular. Like clearly I'm talking about more than one movie. Clearly I don't think every movie sucks. It's the name of like a series on my channel. It's the name of the channel. But I think I don't know. I've existed on this platform long enough that anybody that does say something like, "Do you just hate every movie?" Like they're not taken seriously, like so doesn't really matter to me. I do want to change the channel name to just YMS because yourmoviesucks.org is kind of a mouthful. But I'm trying to find out if I'll lose my verification check mark if I change the name, because I've already got the @. I've already got youtube.com/@YMS, so that's fine.
Yeah, I guess hate is a bit more of a charged word than sucks as well. But again, it's phrased with an I. Like it's I statements. I don't know. I feel like that separates it in a way. I'm not expecting anything from anyone. It's just things I'm saying.
And I mean, like the bulk of the content, or at least like the main series or whatever, is like I hate, right? And then in any other video where you're recommending things, like it's clear in the title of the video. I think the titles of the video have more to do with the content of the video than the name of the channel. The name of the channel, it'd be weird to assume that every video on the channel is the exact same from the title of a channel.
Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, I wouldn't even necessarily blame someone for assuming certain things, because like especially if we're looking at the landscape now, yeah, for sure there is a bunch of like that kind of stuff out there. Yeah, you don't need to book cover it, as you just said. Because that was another thing. It was kind of like stumbling when I was like trying to think of the channel name originally. I wanted something with like cynical or something dry, like all the like stereotypical like British content was, especially at the time, like inspired by like Total Biscuit, the cynical Brit and stuff like that. But that's all like taken. And it was like, what angle is left? I just happened to stumble across one that also that algorithm tends to favor.
Yeah.
Just stumbled into it.
I think I consciously knew that critical content was something that did better. You know, ignoring the algorithm, it's just human nature to engage with things that are breaking a circle jerk, or with things that are criticisms or dunkings or making fun of. And there's comedy within that. That's where comedy, like, it's a little, in terms of creating art or content out of your opinions on other content, like, when I'm praising a movie, there's not as much room for jokes. And even if I want to write jokes in those, sometimes it feels inappropriate or unfitting. Sometimes, especially when there's pacing and music involved and showing film footage and all that stuff that goes into my videos, sometimes I want the tone of what I'm saying to match the tone of the film that I'm recommending, so that people understand what they're getting, and it can act as a recommendation for people to be like, oh, I like what this is, let me go for it. So in that sense, it's a bit more difficult to be like sarcastic, dry humor, blah, 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 even though there's some times where I have done that in recommendations. But yeah, in criticisms, it's a lot. There's a lot more you can do in terms of creating comedy, in terms of creating engagement. So yeah, I've always kind of known and recognized that, like, the criticisms and even the meme type videos and movies that I cover on my channel are going to be the ones that get the most attention and do the best. But that doesn't stop me from finding the value in recommending smaller films, in talking about smaller films, in doing festival reviews, in trying to get people that are familiar with my content or subscribe to my content, maybe lured in with the cool cat. But then by the end of it, they learn about Jim Cummings or Matt Johnson, or, there was a point in time where I was the only notable person online talking about fucking Denis Villeneuve or the Safdie brothers, or a lot of people that have since blown up over time. I find value in helping people find those things, and I think that it's a way to contribute to seeing their projects get funded, seeing there be more interest in funding them from producers. If there's more eyes on them, they're more likely to get their project made, right? So yeah.
Because I remember kind of twigging onto this around when I quite like Mark Kermode, and I just found myself like on these playlists of like his reviews where he'd get the most impassioned about something, like he doesn't like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and like the difference in his review when he's expressing it is like entertaining in a different way.
Very entertaining. His review on The Visit.
Yeah, he's got some really great funny ones. He's got such a great vocabulary. But that kind of highlighted to me, like, there is just like a different level of interest when people listen when you're like kind of mad about something. In a way they don't, the other way around, which is unfortunate. That's why you got to kind of sneak it in or build a platform like you have with the film festival stuff. It's not impossible.
I'm happy and proud to have an audience that is genuinely excited to hear me talk about festival movies, and also to have an audience that, like, at a certain point in time, go back however many years, like, it was more of an effort from my part to discover smaller films, but because I've built an audience of people that are interested in foreign and independent films, the conversations on my subreddit are often like, hey, Adam, you should check out this movie, or this is playing at this festival. I'll stream myself making my festival schedule and going through each thing on each single film on the program, being like, okay, here's why I'm watching it. I like this director for that reason. Maybe someone will be like, oh, you got to check out this one. It won this thing at this other thing, or this director, blah, 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 blah. And because I've fostered that community, it helps me out. As much as I'm helping anybody else out, it helps me out because I have a genuine interest in new artists and new art, and trying to help people discover things that they love. So it's a symbiotic relationship, and I'm happy with the audience that I've built up in the community.
Yeah, it's cool.